talk about some miscellaneous information. So this first one, it is not in your publication 4012. It is about ITINs. In the volunteer resource portal on our website, once that gets activated on next week, you will be able to have access to that information. So we're going to talk about ITINs. ITINs has the same digits and components, same digits as a social security number, but the difference is that it begins with a number 9. So ITINs are those individuals that we talked about in our day 1 training when we talked about U.S. residents for filing tax purposes. These are those individuals who have not received a green card, but they have met the substantial presence test in the U.S. Therefore, it qualifies them to be a U.S. resident for tax purposes only, and they do not qualify for a social, but they have received this ITIN number through the IRS. This is the only way that an individual can obtain an ITIN, which is through the IRS. And if they currently have one, they already have one, and you will see that it starts with the number 9. There are tax returns that we are able to prepare to give an individual an ITIN. It is a component within TaxSlayer. But an ITIN, it starts with the number 9. And so when you see this tax document or information, you could see it on maybe a prior tax return that has been provided. You could see it on the ITIN letter that has been provided by the IRS. Also, maybe like a small card that looks similar, about the same size as a social security number. You will start the tax return in TaxSlayer with this ITIN number. When you get ready to input their income source documents, such as W-2 or 1099 interest, TaxSlayer will then prompt a space for you to enter the social on the source document, definitely the W-2. You will then enter the social or the number that you see on the source document. So start the return with the ITIN and then enter the number that's on the W-2 into TaxSlayer on that source document. So you're duplicating everything you see on the source document when you input. So we do not input information into TaxSlayer. We do not input it from the intake form. We don't take information, Social Security, ITIN information from the W-2 to start with the tax return. So also giving you some more information about these ITINs is that for individuals who have not used the ITIN number in the past 3 years, or it was issued before 2013, have requirements to renew these numbers. The IRS wants to confirm and make sure that they are still in use. Individuals who have not renewed their ITIN prior to the tax season starting, then we will still prepare their tax return, but it will have to be a paper return with that ITIN renewal component added. So for example, we're going to look at December 31st, 2020, and we're going to see that any individual that has an ITIN with the middle digits of 88, 90, 91, 92, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, and 99. These individuals, if they did not renew prior to the start of tax season, are required to renew when they file that tax return. So this means that we're going to create their tax return, and it will have to be a paper return, which if they are due a refund, that refund can still be direct deposit or a paper check. Typically in normal times, it takes about 12 to 14 weeks to process an ITIN renewal. But with the pandemic and for the IRS, they have been short-staffed in catching up on a lot of the paper returns. I'm not for sure if they would still meet that same time frame. So you will see some additional video information about ITIN information. And also, if you have questions, you will receive clarity information when you start to volunteer and you select your shift. Your site coordinator will give you some additional ITIN information if needed, if you are preparing one of those tax returns. So just taking from here, understanding an ITIN, it starts with the number 9. And you will start that tax return with that number. But then when you go to the source document, entering the number that's listed on that source document. Also, just letting you know in some of the lessons that ITINs, they do not qualify for the earned income credit. Or if the dependent has an ITIN and they meet the age requirements, they will not get the child tax credit. So an ITIN does disqualify individuals for certain credits. Then down below, you will see it has the IP PIN number. This is for any individuals that have had any tax return identity theft, and the IRS has determined that they need to issue them a PIN. This PIN, it is required to be input into the tax layer in order for that return to be electronically filed. If it is not provided, then the tax client has an option to go to the irs.gov and try to create an account to obtain one. If they are unsuccessful, then it will have to be a paper return that they will have to print and mail to the IRS. So when we started working on our tax layer scenario 8, we did see that it did require Richard Roosevelt to have an IP PIN number, and we did enter that into tax layer so that we are able to electronically e-file his tax return. And the IRS typically issues this information December. What they would have went out December or January of this year. So the tax, when they would already receive that, have that information when it's time to prepare the tax return, unless they have moved recently.